Shalom, I'm Rabbi Gail Schuster-Buskila, and today we're going to talk about Parashat Yayakhel, which is the 10th Torah portion in the book of Exodus. We're getting close to the end, and usually this portion isn't by itself, but we get an extra treat because next time I will also talk about its paired parasha if it's not a leap year. If you're watching this and it's not a leap year, you should have to watch Yayakhel Pekudei together. Don't know how you do that, but this year they're separate. This is actually a very interesting date in the calendar, and it's 2022, and we're doing some interesting things in this Hebrew year of Tav Shin Pei Bet, or as we call it, 5782. It's February, but it's also the first Adar because there'll be a second one. This is recorded in a leap year. We're going to talk about the idea or the ideas of generosity, because that's what I concentrated on. Another set of descriptions of the tabernacle, but in it is an interesting idea about someone that has a generous heart, nadiv lev. As you can see, I've entitled my Midrash for Yayakhel, Providing for Others. I suggest using this wonderful website, Sefaria, to see the entire Torah portion of Yayakhel, and just to point out that it does begin with a discussion of the Sabbath, which is somewhat surprising because it really doesn't have much of a connection to the rest of the portion. And I begin my Midrash with verse 21 of Exodus 35. Everyone whose generous spirit moved them, bringing to Yahweh an offering for the work of the tent of meeting and for all its rituals and for the sacramental garments. I begin my Midrash. Walk along a large body of water and listen to the waves at the water's edge. A generous heart is like a lake full of sweet water. Until needed, it contains the essence of life, always there to sustain a traveler en route to somewhere. The lake's drops of water refresh and revive, requiring nothing in return from those who stop to drink. How did that lake come to be? Was it formed over millennia by catching the runoff of melting snow, or the result of rivers flowing in it and carving it? Was it always there? Will it survive unpolluted into the future? A little later, I continue my Midrash. We seem to always be looking for that pristine lake to save us along insidiously troubled paths in life. Once in a while, I see that lake and find that heart when least expected. I believe there's a great connection between the idea of generosity and Yayakhel. And I also continue on a little into gratitude. After the short discussion of Shabbat at the beginning of Parashat Yayakhel, in verses 4 through 6, we see that Moses is telling the community of the Israelites to take from what you have with you a donation to the Lord. I used Yud Hey W Hey in my translation, but this is a translation from Robert Alter. Whose heart urges him, let him bring it, a donation of the Lord. Gold and silver and bronze and indigo and purple and all different sorts of things, a huge list of what you could bring. And I've over here to the right included a word cloud of the different ideas that are connected with generosity. It's a word cloud, meaning the different ideas are grouped around this idea of generosity. And there's so many things that they could have brought, and they actually were allowed to bring what they wanted. Now, this section is about completing the tabernacle. It's not completed yet, but eventually it will be. The priestly editor, now reverting to a priestly text, after what we've just read before, seeks to make this thematically purposeful structure, the tent of meeting, the tabernacle, the Mishkan, whatever, though the return to cultic regulations is not likely to please modern readers. We're not always thrilled with going back to the sacrifices. That is the design for a perfect earthly abode for God in the midst of the Israelites has been traumatically disrupted by the story of the golden calf and the shattering of the tablets of the law. Very difficult incidences. And yet, after all of that, every man and woman whose heart urged them to bring for all the task that the Lord had charged them to do by the hand of Moses, the Israel brought a free will gift to the Lord. They just brought it. They didn't ask questions, how much, how little, they just brought it. But at a certain point in chapter 36, those people working on the tabernacle said, the people are bringing too much for the work of the task that the Lord charged to do. They were overly generous. Obviously, they did it with joy. I'm extrapolating, of course. Why does generosity make us happy? People are happiest when their giving is coupled with a social connection, relatedness, when they are given explicit information about how their donation will be used, competence, and when they are free to choose how to give, which is called autonomy. This comes from a white paper by Summer Allen called The Science of Generosity. And it talks about the reasons why the people give generously, because they feel a connection. They feel that they know, especially when they know what will happen to their donation. And then it seems that they are free to choose how to give and how much to give. When I think of how astounded I am at this, I think of blessings that one should bless when experiencing gratitude. And this blessing comes from Gratitude to Blessings and Back by Marilyn Price and Rabbi David Teutsch. And the blessing is a traditional blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hatov shimcha lecha na'eh lehodot. Blessed are you, eternal our God, the sovereign of all worlds, whose name is good, and to whom it is good to give thanks. I have to be thankful when I see the kind of things that people give. Whatever charity it is, I have to be amazed when I look at what they did as reported in chapter 35 and 36 of the book of Exodus. And this is where Marilyn Price and David Teutsch add a little something to the idea of experiencing gratitude and how we should feel after that. I did it myself is a sensible exclamation when uttered by someone who just tied her shoes on her own for the first time. But even that first would not have happened without someone teaching her how to tie a bow. As Albert Einstein once explained, I stand on the shoulders of giants. So do we all. Giving thanks for our good fortune is a valuable first step in passing it forward. And that is exactly what the children of Israel did at that point when they were asked to contribute to the building of the tabernacle. I hope you'll read my entire Midrash, and the link will be at the bottom of this video. But here's how I ended it. I observed and took it to heart. I saw it and learned a lesson. I think that that's what we should learn from the generosity of the children of Israel at this point when they're asked to contribute more to the building of the tabernacle. And they just come out in such a bountiful way. May we all reach the shores of that bountiful lake. May we all feel the generosity of that bountiful heart. may each one of us be able to give freely to others on their way. And I couldn't resist, but I added at the end Neil Young's Heart of Gold. I hope you enjoyed my discussion of Parashat Yayakhel, and I hope that you can all find someone with a generous heart to spend some time with in Shabbat Yayakhel. Shabbat Shalom.